There you go. The headline says it all. Jodi Arias back in court. Now, right there, that's some old footage. That's Jodi Arias with Jennifer Wilmot during the criminal trial. Now we know Jodi Arias back in court, and all the familiar players are there as well. Judge Sari Stevens, Wilmot, Nurmi, Juan Martinez, and a lot on the table. A lot of big issues as a hearing is going on right now. Today's October 4th. October 24th, we're looking at a settlement conference. Is there a settlement in the works? Hey, that's on the shelf, at least for now, as we're trying to work out some of these details, like will there be a change of venue? Will the jury be sequestered? And really, number one, will they set a date for a retrial of the penalty phase? Back with us, our one-man justice squad. He's criminal defense attorney Jeff Gold. Let's hit that one. Are we going to get a date today, Jeff, on a retrial?
Yeah, I think it's unlikely. I think they'll argue these. And there may be a date, but will there be a real date today? No, there's not going to be a real trial date today, in my opinion, unless these issues are already settled. I mean, the judge has to go through them. They're all media issues. They make a big difference as to how the trial will be conducted. If the media was let in as opposed to the media not let in, if a jury was sequestered as opposed to not sequestered, venue, these are all things that really have to do with where the trial is going to happen, how it's going to take place. So I say not. We're not at that stage quite yet.
Okay. Again, by the way, we have one of our producers right there in Phoenix. If we get any information, if we get any footage, we'll turn it around for you and let you know what's going on. Hey, Jeff, let's go rapid fire here through the big issues that are being dealt with in this hearing. All right, let's go right down the line. Change of venue. What are the odds that's happening?
Very unlikely. This is a case which has gotten national media. You know, it's be surprising to think someone else in a different county in Arizona would know a lot less about it. And as your research has shown, even people in Phoenix don't know as much as you might think. So no or little chance. Can you find a fair and impartial jury? Want to let you know this. One of our producers, Ajira, my colleague Susan Hendricks, went around and they took these very pictures here, if we could show them, of Jodi Arias. And here's one of them, and went up to people and said, you see her? Do you know her and who she is? And obviously you're thinking, hey, can you do that in Maricopa County? There's this shot of Jodi Arias. There's one of her in court, and there's one of her and Travis Alexander. So Susan, Ajira, they talked to some folks, 17 in all. Let's see what they found out.
We just wanted to know how many people are familiar with this face. Can you tell me who this is?
I could if you didn't have me on television.
Yeah.
Who?
That one crazy lady.
I recognize the photo, but I don't know her name or why she's known.
I do not.
Do you guys know anyone?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Jodi Arias, I saw the movie.
Who is this?
No idea. We are not here from the Atlanta area.
Oh,
so
you're not
sorry
from here?
No, sorry.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I do recognize her. So
Is that
she,
Casey Anthony?
no, that's the other lady. She killed,
Jodi Arias.
yeah, a good time, yeah.
Got it.
I surely can.
No idea?
No idea.
And what about that?
I forget her name. That girl that killed that guy, murdered that guy.
Jodi Arias?
Yeah.
There you go. Well done. Again, only 5 out of the 17 people that Ajira and Susan spoke to recognized Jodi Arias. 5, so that makes 11 who did not know her. 1 recognized her face, didn't know her name. So, hey, you add that up, that makes a 12-person jury. So, yeah, our little experiment says, yeah, you can find a fair and impartial jury. Really interesting there. All right, sequestering the jury. Same issue kind of applies. Inconvenience, money, cost to sequester a jury. What are the likelihood that's happening?
Well, it's really a different type of issue in the sense that the sequestration focuses at the period of the trial itself. The jurors, of course, would be theoretically from Phoenix, but the question is, did you have to put them in a room so they're really under lock and key and are away from media, etc.? And the answer is that's not going to happen in Phoenix anyway. And it didn't happen in the other trial of the substantive charge, and it would only say to an appellate court, if you needed a new jury now, but maybe you should have had one before. It's also not going to happen.
All right. Defense wants to look at a potential juror's Twitter account. You think that's happening?
Yeah, I do. I think that is a legitimate, modern-day type of motion that ought to be granted, especially in this case, Jodi Arias, made Twitter in a lot of ways. I think there was a huge spike in Twitter just because of Jodi Arias, and then, of course, Zimmerman after it. I think we're in the modern age. You want to know if one of those jurors has an anonymous account called, Jodi Arias whatever. These are
one
things
side or
you
the
should.
other.
And you could do and you could do it in camera, meaning in chambers or in a closed hearing, so everybody doesn't have to know what your Twitter account was. But I think it's very legitimate.
Got it. Okay, how about questioning the potential jurors individually?
Yeah, I think that's something that should be done in a case like this. The judge usually asks general questions. I think it can be done, but every place has its own procedure that they're used to doing. In fact, even in a county, a judge will have a procedure versus a different judge. And no one's to say which is better or not unless you have an appellate opinion that determines you have to do it, and that's not the case here. So that'll be up to the judge. Usually they'll do general questions, and then when there becomes something to ask a juror, then go privately or just ask individually.
Hey, last one real quick. Limiting live media coverage.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen for the same reason as the other one I mentioned, because if you say the media has been so damaging, we've had the substantive trial after all, and you say that didn't work out, well, what does that say for appeal? That gives it, to grant it now is to say there was a problem before. Not going to happen.
Got it. Great work, Jeff. Rapid fire with Jeff Gold.
Hey, Jean, what was the purpose of today's hearing?
Well, there's a lot of motions that we believe they argued. We don't know, though, because just as you said, it was a closed-door hearing. And that's really highly unusual, Ryan, because there is a presumption that our courts are open and this hearing would be open. But the judge is allowed to close it if she believes there's a compelling state interest that Jodi Arias may be prejudiced by an impartial jury come her penalty phase. And so the judge exercised that discretion and closed the hearing. So we know nothing.
Okay, so then what would be the next step? Are there other motions hearings coming up or other things they need to resolve?
Well, there's actually a conference at the end of October that seems to be a settlement conference. It's going to be another judge, a senior judge, retired judge officiating. That also will be closed. But a settlement conference, that means it appears as though to me someone is asking for an agreement to be made so there won't be a penalty phase. But everything that was argued today, we believe, change of venue, sequestering a jury, knowing and learning the Twitter account handle names of jurors for that penalty phase, that would all be going toward a penalty phase hearing and trial in this case.
Okay, could be the case, or could be they're trying to work something out. We'll have to wait and see. Jean, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan.